our stats presentation on Stephen Curry correlation. So the first thing we did in our setup is determine the question, which is which metric is the best predictor of the number of points Stephen Curry scores between 2-point attempts, 3-point attempts, and free throw attempts. So these were our three independent variables, and we tested them through a simple random sample of 30 games played in the 2022-2023 NBA season. And so then we graphed a least squares regression line of each variable and then analyzed the relationship between them and interpret them in context. So to find our data set, we used basketballreference.com, and we used all the data from Stephen Curry for the 2022-2023 season.
So using basketballreference.com, we gathered our data on the random sample of 30 games. And for each game, we gathered data on the 3-point, 2-point, and free throw attempts, as well as the total points scored. Finally, using this data, we plotted it all in Desmos, and using the line of best fit program, we were able to generate a line that best models the relationship between 2-point attempts and his total points scored. And as we can see by the graph, the slope is 1.32, which means for each 2-point that Steph Curry attempts, we can expect him to gain 1.32 points on the game.
Okay, so moving on to 3-point attempts, our R-squared value here was 0.2532, and our line of best fit equation was y is approximately 1.33749x plus 13.6993. So the slope is about 1.34, which indicates that for each 3-point attempt, the number of expected points scored in the game as a whole goes up by 1.34 points. Now moving into free throw attempts, our squared value here was 0.1853, and our line of best fit equation was y is approximately 1.18x plus 21.97. So the slope here is 1.18, and this indicates that for every free throw attempt, Curry is expected to have 1.18 more points on the game as a whole.
All right, and finally, these are all the results side by side. The main thing to see here is that the 2-point attempts has a significantly higher R-squared value compared to the 3-point attempts and free throw attempts. It has an R-squared value of 0.5, which is considered moderately strong compared to the relatively weak ones of 0.25 and 0.18. As you can see, all the points graphed are a lot more clustered together compared to the other two. And finally, for the analysis, so the correlation between 3-point attempts and points scored is considered relatively weak since the R-square is 0.25. The free throw attempts one is also considered relatively weak since the R-squared is 0.18. And finally, the correlation between 2-point attempts and points scored is moderately strong since its R-squared value is 0.51. And here's our works cited. Thank you.